In America, there is Mount Rushmore, a granite mountain with four faces of that country's greatest leaders carved into it. The MWT Mount Rushmore has four faces as well. The dominant Frenchman, Evan Maillard, two-time champion and first perfect Ironman, Richard Eklund, the Speedmaster, three-time title holder, Jan Koemans, and an active driver with 3 crowns, Sonny Kanchen. A fourth championship would earn Kanchen his likeness depicted in a statue overlooking the harbor. But somebody who wants to keep the harbor skyline staying just the way it is would be current point leader Robert Hartley. It's the Heusinkveld MX-5 World Tour Round 6 from Monza, and you can see all the simulated Mazda action, green flags to victory donuts, live as it happens right here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Hello and welcome to the homeland of Michelangelo. Welcome to another GSRC broadcast way up in the press box to bring you our Words Eye View. Bill Soups on, joined by the fan bell himself, Johan van de Velde. Joe Peak is on assignment, so Sean Ambrose has director duties, armed with cameras locked and loaded by Dougie Beard. Johan, Italy has several great racetracks. For round 6, we've come to one of them. Tell us about today's track.
Yeah, today we visit the Italian Temple of Speed, Autodromo Nazionale Monza. This track was constructed in 1922 and was the third purpose-built raceway in the world. In its history, it is mostly known for the Italian F1 Grand Prix, which it has hosted almost every year since the start of the sport. Now you can see as you go around a lot of trees around the asphalt, and that's because Monza is located in Monza Park, one of the biggest enclosed parks in the world. And a little bit of trivia, this park was actually constructed by the French. After Napoleon conquered northern Italy 200 years ago, his stepson became the owner of the nearby Royal Villa of Monza. And the 6.8 square kilometer park that is Monza located in, well, it was his garden. Between the vegetation you can find several tracks, including the old oval and the current 5.7 kilometer Grand Prix track. Since its inception, Monza has been characterized by its long straights where engine power is key. No matter which car you drive here, you will always spend the better part of a lap at full throttle, which won't be any different today in a Mazda MX-5. So if the straights supply pack racing, the corners are where drivers have to make a difference. These can be very tricky at Monza, especially considering the immense speed that you enter some of them. And to experience this from the driver's point of view, let's hop on board the GSRC Mazda MX-5 for a lap around Monza.
Alright, we've got Amjad Yaman in the GSRC MX-5, so let's do a lap around Monza. Coming down the front stretch, this is the longest straight into the heaviest braking zone. The Rettifilo chicane is obviously a great place to try a pass, but it certainly offers some dangers. First of all, the track narrows on the approach, and as you can see, it's extremely tight at the corner itself, so getting in side by side usually doesn't end well. Plus, those big sausage curbs can really upset the car if you hit them too hard, so make those overtakes with a bit of caution. After that, you've got the long, gentle bend to the right that is Curva Grande. This is flat out all the way until Della Roggia, so once again, the draft is going to come into play. Don't be too surprised to see drivers drift to the outside of this turn to take away the inside line into the chicane. There's a lot of paved runoff to help save you when you overshoot your braking, but the sleeping policeman and the slowdown penalty should really make you wary of cutting the course even if by mistake. On exit, watch out for the gravel trap. Expect a lot of gunk to get dragged onto the track from there. Now we hit the first Lesmo. There's a lot of banking, but try not to come into the corner too shallow. As you come off the corner, hold left to set up for the second Lesmo. This one is a lot sharper than the first, and you can be much more aggressive on the inside curve. It's pretty important to keep your momentum up, especially in this underpowered Miata. This isn't the longest stretch of the circuit, but it's very easy to botch your exit and leave yourself vulnerable down into the Ascari chicane. It's bad enough that you gotta worry about the slipstream, but you definitely don't want to give your opponent a free pass. Now this chicane is pretty different from the first two. It's faster and it has 3 distinct apexes. You'll try to hold tight on the first one to give a nice wide arc into the second. Once again, stay right up to the edge of the course and then swing it through the last one. That last left-hand apex should be flat out if you nailed it just right. From there, drift back across to the left side of the track and take a moment to breathe. Coming up is the Parabolica. You'd think a 180-degree hairpin would make a great place to pass, but really, if you're smart, you should set up your run off the turn. This is a deceptively fast corner, so it's already more difficult to outbrake someone. And then, the draft is so powerful, all they have to do is stay behind you and take the position right back on the pit straight. That's where being patient can pay off if you simply wait and slingshot by before Retafilo. But hopefully you haven't gotten tangled up with another car amidst all the chicanes, so take some time to wave to the Tifosi and finish your lap around Monza.
Even with the chicanes and these underpowered MX-5s, you are on the throttle a long time as we take a lap around Monza. All right, let's try to stay on the throttle as we take a lap around the point standings. Let's start with the Pro Driver Championship. And there you see it. We set it up in the pre-race there in the intro. Robert Hartley is your leader, the South Carolinian. But he's only 9 points up on Sonny Kenshin. Now, I don't want to take the drama out of today's event, but Hartley, as of now, has yet to show up. So there are some no-show compensation. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we look at it. So Hartley's not going to be totally crushed on this, but it's a good day for Kenshin. The Italian driver, Marcello Pajan, sits in third. Travis Swenke holding station in fourth. And how about Stelin Shepelevsky? He is here today, and he's quick, and he actually could be a threat to get the win. Let's go ahead and talk about the championship that has been really exciting. That's the amateur, guys. Johan?
Yeah, exactly. In the lead, it's still Kip Stevens with 332 points scored so far. 62 behind that. Jordi Fijk and Björn de Vries. Now, just look at the gap between Jordi Fijk and Björn in P2 and P5 Stefan Veenhoff. There's just 12 points separating P2 to P5 at the moment. So it's really, really tight in the amateur championship. And not only that, last time around, Kip Stevens didn't have a great run. He only finished in P5, which bunched up everyone in this championship. Everyone just got a whole lot closer, trying to get away or at least put Kip Stevens under pressure for the lead. And Jordi Fijk and Björn de Vries, they are sharing P2 at the moment. Although one of those drivers isn't here today, Björn de Vries is missing. Also still has to show up for the race today. So if he doesn't show up, Erik Koeman will probably take away that P3 position. And Stefan Veenhoff, we didn't see him last week, but this week he is a new entry in the top 5 in the amateur championship.
Talk about how well Kip is doing. He actually sits 7th overall in the Drivers' Championship, so a great run from the Brit. Okay, qualifying is underway. Before we look at that, why don't we take a quick look at the event details?
Yeah, we're of course in season 60 of the Heusinkveld Mazda MX-5 World Tour. This is round 6 of 11 this season, just a little bit over the halfway mark. Now, there's 3 no-show compensations this season. You just mentioned a bill. Let's really quickly about what these are. If a driver misses a race, he or she is compensated with a percentage of the driver's average race finish. So it's not technically a drop week. It's not as good as a drop week, but it's also like not the case that your no-show just nets you 0 points. You still get awarded a certain percentage of points. It's not as much as showing up, but you still get helped a little if you cannot make it in a race. The race distance today here at Monza, however, is 20 laps with open setups. That means that the drivers can tweak their MX-5s just to their liking as they tackle this circuit and make 1 pit stop in the race. And there's no incident cap, but if you've seen the Heusinkveld MX-5 World Tour Series, you know that there's a miles per incident bonus points awarded at the end of the season. So it is worth it to keep your car on the asphalt and don't score X's.
Yeah, just to drill down a little bit on that no-show compensation. You get 3 of them. The first one you miss, you're going to get 90% of what you usually would do. So that's hardly any penalty at all. Just a little slap on the wrist for missing that race because your sister was getting married. The second one you have to miss, well, that's a little more penalty there. You're only going to get 50% of what you would usually get, and if you miss a third one, well, that's almost as bad as a 0. You're going to get only 25%. So they give you a little bit of room to celebrate your sister's newlywedness. Nuptials, I guess is the word I was looking for. All right, with that said, let's go ahead and celebrate some of the qualifying that's going on out there right now. Nobody has a lap time yet.
The first driver just went over start-finish line with a lap time, and that's Stefan van Opstal. Driver did a 2:16.3, but he's falling down the order quick as other drivers are coming over the start-finish line, including Sonny Kenshin, the driver that you see on screen at the moment, who is challenging for the P1 position in the Pro category. He did a 2:15.5, incredible lap time. You can immediately see that Sonny Kenshin is already driving on the limit, even though this was only his first lap in qualifying, because he's 0.008 of a second quicker than he was in practice. In practice, Sonny Kenshin was also the quickest driver out on track, and in qualifying he's continuing the trend with a pace that's almost as quick as he was then.
A couple of drivers south of the equator doing really well, as his, well, not his country mate, but his continent mate, I will say, is Gene Fittis, the New Zealand driver, sitting in second.
Yeah,
and now we take a look. There's Gene.
Another big gap as well between Sonny Kenshin and Gene Fittis at the moment. Only 1/10 of a second in a 2:15 lap. Well, it's not a big difference being only 1/10 behind the pole sitter at the moment.
You can kind of bounce these MX-5s over the curbing here a little bit, can't you, Johan?
Yeah, you almost have to in this car and on this track. You really have to attack them just because it's so important. Those long straights, you really need to have all the momentum. And if you really try to steer it around those curb stones every corner, you just track out too much. You just lose too much speed. And yeah, just hitting them as hard as possible sometimes is really the key to getting a quick lap time.
Go ahead and check in on car number 41. He's currently in 7th. This is what we call the Bay State Hammer. That's his nickname, Tom Ratchey. There he is. Tom is a veteran of the series. Let me just double check my stats here real quick, and I can tell you how many races Tom's actually putting in. I believe today this is going to be Tom's, 141st career start. That's a lot of Saturdays.
It's an incredible amount of Saturdays. Let's hope that Tom can actually celebrate that with a good result here at Monza. He's now coming around the Parabolica corner. Very difficult corner. The car really wants to track out here. You want it to stay as straight as possible so you can enjoy your power, the little power that you have in your MX-5 as much as possible. Going here over the start-finish straight here, the 1:16.4. He actually goes a little bit quicker. 1:16.3, half a tenth. That's not enough to win a position, and he stays in P7 for now.
Let's check in on car number 36. This is a driver we had hopes for, Stelian Chepalevsky. He's currently down in 11th. Is he on a hot lap now? I can't...
Yeah.
Yes, he did. He just got it in.
Yeah, that was a lot quicker than before. He is now in P8. First lap from him was only a 2:17.3, but he went almost a second quicker second time around. So I think, Bill, that he made a mistake in his first lap. The Bulgarian winning a lot of places, and also getting past all the amateur drivers. And that's not really unimportant because you're not directly battling with you're directly battling with the amateur drivers, but you really want to be in your own class with the other pro drivers. And he's now just behind Tom Ratchey.
I continue to be amazed how effective the MWT Amateur Pro cut line is. It is just incredible. Right now, the top 8 drivers in qualifying time, all pros. Everybody else, amateurs. It's amazing how they have that really well done.
Exactly. It's almost like Noah's Ark, the way they separate each other there. Really good on track at the moment. Let's see if there's another car still driving around on a lap time. I don't think there's anyone still busy with a lap time, but there's still several drivers out there on track, just trying to get a feel of the track conditions and everything. You can see Robert Wieninga here coming through the Ascari chicane. The temperature today is actually a quite warm afternoon here in Italy. 29 degrees Celsius. Track temperature is 42 degrees Celsius. You can see here the temperatures in Fahrenheit as well. It's actually quite warm here. It's a nice November afternoon. And also the wind, it isn't very strong. I don't think the drivers will struggle with that, but it is quite warm, and I can understand that some of the drivers just want to be out there on track, practice a little bit more with it. And Robert Wielinga here as well, just practicing the pit entry, because you come off from the Parabolica corner, very high speed. You really have to nail your braking mark there. Otherwise, you get a stop-and-go penalty.
One of the interesting aspects of this track is that the pit lane is on the outside of the track, something you don't see very often. Chepalevsky is going to try to get one more in. Relatively small field for an MWT event. Only 15 drivers putting in qualifying times, 18 names on the entry list. Let's see what Stelian can do here. Nope, I think he's going to run out of time. And with that, let's go to our Heusinkveld starting grid. Now remember, when it's time to go racing, nothing beats Heusinkveld. They offer a broad array of products and services, including advanced vehicle simulation software and hardware, and sponsors on practically every major team in sim racing today. If you're looking for an edge in sim racing, get in touch today with Heusinkveld.com. On the front row, it's Sonny Kanchan and Gene Fittis. Jean-Franc Pignot is going to be inside of row 2 with David Hampson, Marcelo Pajan, Steven Van Opstrow, 5th and 6th. The Bay State Hammer, Tom Ratchey, inside of Stelian Chepelevsky, 9th and 10th. That's going to go to Steph Viehoff. And then in 10th position, it's Eric Cohen.
Another Dutch driver on P11, Robert Wielinga. On the outside of him is Derek Holland. Jordi Fike, P2. In the M Championship, he starts the race in P13 next to the leader there, Kip Stevens. Joe McDonald starts the race on the inside of row 8. He's being flanked by Jeroen Oers. And on the last row of the grid, we can find Renaud Lefebvre. Nick Berry, unfortunately, is not currently in the session, so he will not be participating in the race.
Sometimes a small field plays to the commentator's advantage, especially when they forget to read the sponsor plug when they're supposed to. But I get it in. We get through the entire field. Johan and I both get our GSRC commentators bonus for doing that. All right, all of our attention now is going to focus on 3-time champion Sonny Kanchan and your pole sitter. He's going to lead the small field down into the first corner. He's got the New Zealand behind him of Gene Fittis. The Frenchman of Jean-Franc Pignot in 4th. David Hampson, the British driver, in 4th. Those little MX-5's engines begin to harmonize. Not enough horsepower to smoke off the line. Oh, a little bit of smoke from them. Gather up the chicken steak, cover me on the cows. The horses are out of the barn, and it is Sonny, catch me if you can, leading them down into the first corner. Or let's call it a chicane for that matter. Fittis fending off Pignot for 3rd.
And behind him, they quickly go side by side. There's David Hampson on the outside. He's being overtaken by the red car of Gefiewski. Gefiewski having a good start. Immediately got by Tom Ratchey. Almost got David Hampson there as well, but he cannot make it stick, and it's single file as they go for Couva Grange.
Boy, the back end of the train was really like a parking lot. Jeroen Ursum was at the very end. He actually had to basically stop the car on the track to make sure everyone would get through that first chicane comfortably. Now we are working our way through the second chicane. And they're off to the 2 Lesbos.
Yeah, single file all the way around. It's very close, however, 4P3. Marcelo Pagnan is putting the French driver, Jean-Franc Pignot, under pressure as they go through the first Lesmo. Pignot actually winning a little bit of track position there. For the second Lesmo, he is putting Gene Fittis more and more under pressure. Sonny Kanchan in front of them is driving away a little bit, but now the run down towards Variante Ascari and the run towards Parabolica, those are very long straights, and Gene Fittis and Pignot will be able to just drive towards Sonny Kanchan.
Very important for Fittis and Pignot that they do not battle with each other, or else Sonny Kanchan is literally going to run away with this one. They work through Ascari, a very fun chicane. The left, right, left, a double chicane almost. Now on the throttles, they head to Parabolica.
Now let's see what Pignot does. He actually tries to make the overtaking with stick. That's actually something that might help them. If Gene Fittis gives him the opportunity to move back to the racing line, actually does. Gene Fittis braking a little bit earlier. You need to do that so Pignot can have the normal racing line again and doesn't lose all the time that he just gained in the draft. Out of Parabolica, still several tenths between Sonny Kanchan and the rest of the field. They really have to catch up to the Australian now if they don't want to lose the draft. Gene Fittis tries to move around the outside, but it's still Pignot who's in the draft. Now it switches back. Fittis on the outside, he is in the draft. They're getting closer. Marcelo Pagnan is haunting them, almost looking like he wants to thread the middle. And under braking is Gene Fittis, who completely brakes towards Sonny Kanchan, and that gap is closed.
Fittis did a great job of getting in the toll, running down Kanchan, but Pignot gave him a little hard time going through the chicane there and almost slowed him up, but now they continue to fight behind Kanchan.
Yeah, and this is not smart because Pignot put his nose in the first chicane, in the Rettenvilliers chicane. That gave Gene Fittis a bad run through that corner, and you can see that he immediately loses 0.7 of a second. They have to work together once again now to... Oh, that's Stefan van Opsel there. Oh, overtaking 2 cars in one corner. What a move.
Oh my goodness, he's got himself an expensive pair of brakes as he was really late on the binders and gets 2.
A little bump after that from Gene Fitters, who completely didn't expect the Belgian driver to make that overtake there. And Steven van Opstal make it spick. However, they completely have lost the draft now to Penoy and Sonny Kenshin in front of them.
Let's see what Penoy can do. The interval is just about a tick under 10, under a second. Kenshin will have the advantage here as he goes through the technical section of this chicane. He might be able to pull away a little bit. But I don't think he's far enough. I think that Jean-Franck should be able to hang on to the toe, and I think, yes, he's there now.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Steven van Opstal because he is the one with the great overtaking maneuver who really cut these two groups apart from each other. And the gap between Steven van Opstal and Penoy is almost 2 seconds at the moment, and that is out of draft range, which means that these 5-6 cars after basically P3 and down have to work together to really close up that gap again and make sure that they can continue the battle for the lead.
You're looking at the leader. That's Kenshin being chased by Penoy. And he's going to be close enough now that he should be able to hang in there. They are losing touch, though, with the driver in third. And that's Marcel. Let's go back to third. This is crazy back here. This is the Italian driver. Penoy going to be first into Rettifilio. They are side by side behind. Here comes Stepalevsky with a little bit of a tap on the back of Fittis. Stepalevsky in the red and yellow Momo machine. Another bump, this time on the back of Van Opstal.
Yeah, Stepalevsky wants to make moves, and he prefers yesterday than today because he's really trying to force his way forward there through the grid. Steven van Opstal won 2 positions in one corner last lap around, while he lost 2 positions that time around in one corner to both Marcelo Pagna and Gene Fitters. And they're braking here. Everyone just goes single file through the chicane. A little bit of bumping going on, especially in the back. Erik Koeman and Robert Winiga. Some of the amateur drivers have caught up with these pro drivers as well. Stef Veenhoff is currently leading that class. They all accordion towards each other there.
Veenhoff racing in 9th position. Following the Bay State Hammer, he's the top of our amateurs.
Jean-Franck Bourdin completely through the gravel there on the exit of the Lesma corner. We don't have to go to a replay of that, but he actually kept the front. You can see still a little bit of smoke in the previous shot of just where he went through the gravel, but he kept it completely floored. Because of that, he didn't lose connection to Sonny Kenshin in P1. Marcelo Pagnan is currently driving in P3 in this battle now. And it seems like the Italian actually has some speed, Bill, because the gap between him and Sonny Kenshin is slinking.
It was 2 seconds from second to third, and now it's down to just about a second and a half. So Pagnan is on the roll, and he's trying to bring Gene Fitters with him. Remember, Fitters qualified second.
Yeah, this is helping him a lot because Jean-Franck Bourdin has having none of it. He wants to lead a lap here as well. And him overtaking Sonny Kenshin will mean that these 2 drivers on top of the field will slow down a little bit, and that will help Marcelo Pagnan and all the drivers behind him.
You know, very new to the series. This is his rookie season. Let's look now at Kenshin. Now, the question is, does Kenshin want the lead, or is he going to be happy to sit back here and save a little fuel? This will tell us a lot. I think Sonny wants pace right now as he moves to the inside.
I mean, what I would almost say is that Sonny Kenshin has so much speed on his own that if he is the one who can dictate the speed of the group that he's in, he will be quicker than saving fuel a little bit now and then having a slightly shorter pit stop. I think that if he stays on front now, he can make a bigger difference than if he tries to save a little bit of fuel.
I would not be surprised when the pit window opens, and it's probably going to be about a third of the way into the race, to see Kenshin pull off. With a small field like this, Johan, he doesn't have to worry so much about lap traffic getting caught back in there.
No, absolutely not. And also, this is an incredibly long track. It takes more than 2 minutes to lap at once, so it will be only at the last parts of the race, or only if some crashes happen and cars just get a little spin, that you see other cars on track. So probably only at the last parts of the race will you see cars being lapped.
Well, any chance of Kenshin and Pagnan running away from this thing have been ended by Marcelo Pagnan, who has done a great job of running down the 2 leaders now and bringing the whole train with him. Fittis, Van Opstal, Stepalevsky.
Yeah, and it goes on. It's actually 10 cars currently kind of in that train. It goes all the way back to P10 Robert Wielinga. The first driver who's not in this train is Erik Koeman. He's in P11 and he's being followed as well in a little 4-car train with Kip Stevens, Derek Holland and Jordi Fike behind.
Let's jump in on these guys because this is always exciting. It's the cow car up in front of Erik Koeman. And then Fike and Holland and Stevens. There's our amateur leader. Well down the amateur standings right now. We're going to see a pass here from Derek Holland on the back of, I think so, the blue car peeks out. Looking on the inside of Jordi Fike. Not going to work.
Yeah, Cap Stevens immediately took his position there on the racing line, so Derek Holland couldn't take that back once the move didn't stick. And actually, that bad run through Parabolica will give Kip Stevens a chance. I almost think that Kip Stevens and Jordi Fike were working together, or at least Kip Stevens is being helped a lot because at the moment he tried to make the overtake. Jordi Fike was driving in front of him, moved to the left so he could enjoy the draft. That's the move stick by Kip Stevens there. If we go back to the front of the field, it is completely caught up now. Jean-François Penoy is still leading that, but behind him, Sonny Kenshin, Panyan, Fides, Van Opstal, Gapilevski, they're all very close together because of that big draft here at Monza.
Indeed. Surprised to see who's out in front, though. Qualified third. And the train comes at us.
The thing is, Jean-François Penoy actually was doing very well in practice today. He was second in practice. And during the practice session, his time was less than a tenth slower than Sonny Kenshin. So basically the whole session long, he has really been excelling on this track and with these weather conditions. And the French driver is really trying to make the most of a track that really suits him at this moment.
Right off the back, looking back, you can see at the very back, I feel sorry for car number 29, Robert Palenga. He's doing his very best to try to hang with the train, but oh, Johan, I think he might be losing time.
Yeah, it seems like he's falling down the clutches of Erik Koeman in P11 and also Stefanov, the leader, the red and white leader in the amateur category. It seems like he's falling away from Tom Lecce at the moment. So yeah, especially as he goes very wide there through Ascari, that will lose him quite a bit of track position as well, track time. So it seems like the top 8 train is actually all the pro drivers that we have today driving very, very close together.
There it is. Tom Ratchie now, the caboose of the pros. And Stefan Veenhoff, the leader of the AMs.
The good thing for Tom Ratchie though is that this whole group in front of him is very close together. So they will work together and will have extra speed once they come towards turn 1, and he will lose a little bit, but because they're all so close together to make sure you don't bunch up against each other with the accordion effect, you have to brake earlier, and at that point Tom Ratchie can win quite a few car licks, and I think that he will brake towards the rest of the field when that happens. On top of the field, by the way, it's Sonny Kenshin getting the lead again on the inside of Jean-François Penoy. Oh, the French driver actually goes wide, loses 2 positions. Marcelo Pagnan also gets by him.
Pagnan gave a lot of room to Kenshin, and that let Jean get in there as well. So the French driver back to third. Fides now under attack from Van Opstal.
Yeah, it's almost NASCAR driving here for Curva Grande with Stefan Van Opstal, Gene Fides going side by side, Gapilevski and Hampson were going side by side. And still Gapilevski on the outside with Gene Fides on the inside. Will Gene Fides give in? He doesn't have the speed. Yeah, he actually chooses to go back to the racing line there.
Fides having a little bit of connection trouble down in New Zealand there, but he's got it as he sits down in 6th. Hampson and Ratchie, 7th and 8th, watching on.
And behind them in P10, Robert Wieninga has been caught by Erik Koeman. They're currently nose to tail at the moment. Kip Stevens behind them is looking at that with open eyes. There's not a lot between those few drivers. And also Derek Holland and Jordi Fike aren't far behind as well, so these 5 cars are very close together.
Yeah, Robert's having a hard time as he lost touch with the leaders and then got passed by the amateur driver.
I mean, it's always one of the things that I think is very difficult as well on these underpowered cars. Once you lose the draft, you still see it within your reach. But because you don't have the draft anymore, you don't have that speed anymore. So you start overdriving, making mistakes. And that's the point where you lose a lot of time very quickly. And maybe that's what happened with Robert Wieninga as well, who really quickly fell in the clutches of Erik Koeman, who's actually trying a move here out of Ascari chicane, as you see on the top of the screen.
What a great camera shot is very much at the top of the screen. Screen right, you see the cow car making the pass, and he's going to be able to get the job done. Move him up into 10th. Check back in on the front. Little bit of a bump here from Pajan. These are two teammates. Seeing if they can get the pace up a little bit and leave some of these guys behind. Both Kanchan and Pajan race for Asbury Motorsports. You see the similar painted cars. Not the case for Pignot. I'm not sure what he has or who he has on the hood of his car there.
Maybe we can ask him after the race.
Yeah.
I don't recognize it as well at the moment. What I do recognize is that Marcelo Pagnot is really close to Sonny Kenshin at the moment, but the Italian doesn't want to try make an overtaking maneuver stick. Of course, this is the home Grand Prix of Marcelo Pagnot. This maybe is a little bit of an extra incentive for him to do well here in Italy as they go to Variante della Reccia.
I'll tell you who's working the car really hard, and that's Stelian Chefalevsky. Boy, he really got the car sideways out of the chicane, lost a little ground. Racing in 4th. Remember, we expected a lot from him. Poor qualifying. 8th was not where we figured him to be, but qualifying maybe not that important at this track as long as you can hang in there. And he's up to 4th now, being hounded by Fittis, who's been up and down the order.
I would almost say that Chepilevsky is really taking a little bit of time to get used to this track almost. He was very poor in qualifying the first lap, and the first lap was sent him something to P14, P15, and only the second lap that he got to the top 8. And it also took several laps before he could finally just move forward a little bit in this lead group. And he's currently sitting in P4. And I think that if I want Chepilevsky and you're not that comfortable with the track yet, as it maybe seems a little bit like, you just want to move forward and get a track position as soon as possible.
He's got 14 more laps to get it figured out before the racing will really start when we get to the very end. Laps to go as we have completed 7th. I talked about the pit window opening about the 1/3 mark. I would think it'd be open, maybe not this time, maybe next time around. And if you're Sonny Kanchan and you're the pole sitter and you think you got a lot of guys hanging on, you might want to think about that early stop. Here comes the Frenchman on the outside. Is he going to be faster than the two teammates? He gets 1.
But making it over...
Gets 2, maybe. Nope.
Making that move stick around the outside is very difficult. You have to close down Marcelo. Oh, Marcelo gives a very naughty there. A little bump on the exit. And that sends Jean-Franck a little bit loose. Now a very long run through the Curva Grandi. And now Marcelo Pagnot once again has the draft of Sonny Kenshin. So I think that the Italian will get that position back. But that little bump that he gave Jean-Franck Penoy on the exit of the Variante del Rettifilo, that made him lose. That made him lose his traction. Because of that, he couldn't stay P2. But what Penoy is doing right now, that's what I will be doing at this point of the race as well. You know that the pit window is almost opening, so now you want track position, because every position that you win now is meters that the opponents have to make more than you once you make your pit stop. And you can really dictate who comes in when now.
Stefan, I want to talk about the driver that's just off of this lead train in 9th position. Steph Wienhoff. He's only 2.5 seconds back. I think he's closing on these guys. He's left the other amateurs behind.
Yeah, I think so as well. Looking at the speed, last time around he did a 2:16.2, and he was actually quite comfortable in the 2:16s. Doing a 2:16.0 earlier as well. And if I look at the lap times of Tom Ratje did a 2:16.5 last time around. So it seems like he's gaining slightly though. But if the battle keeps being so strong as it was the last few laps, Stefan Veenhoff will move forward.
Right, I think it all depends on how Kanchan and Pajan and Pignot behave up front. If they're going to keep battling like that, it's going to slow this train down and maybe give a chance to bring one more guy in. Let's drop back to 12th position. This is the amateurs that are going at it.
Yeah, P12 at the moment. Derek Holland is putting Robert Wieninga under pressure to the parabolica. He has the inside, but he doesn't brake as late as Robert Wieninga. Very late on the anchors. And he gets it close down in time, slow down in time. He's looking to see which of the good two cars in front of him has more exit speed out of the parabolica chicane. Well, it's not Erik Koeman who goes in the pits, as does Derek Holland.
Koeman
in front of them,
Holland.
Yeah, in front of them it's Tom Ratche and David Hampson from the leading 8 as well making their pit stop. So it's not Sonny Kenshin who's in first. It's actually some of the drivers that were a little bit behind them. And both Tom Ratche and David Hampson were drivers that were... You basically had a top 5 forming and 3 cars behind them. And Tom Ratche and David Hampson were both in those 3-car train a little bit from P6 to P8. So they were falling a little bit down the wayside. Let's see if this early pit stop will actually help them to regain the positions that they seem to be losing to the top drivers.
Well, it won't help that Hampson and Ratche don't come out very close to each other out of pit lane.
A very long pit stop from Koeman there. Extremely long.
So now we're looking at 6 cars. I hate to question Tom Ratche's thinking here. I can't imagine he thinks he's going to be faster than Kanchan and Pajan. Maybe he thinks that those guys are going to battle. He can maybe hot lap and pick up something this way. A guy who's raced in 140 of these events must know what he's doing.
I think so as well. Just quickly about those pit stops. David Hampson, Tom Ratche didn't come out side by side. It was because David Hampson was 2 seconds quicker than Tom Ratche. But the long pits of Erik Koeman, the Dutch driver, was 14 seconds longer in his pit stop than Derek Holland. So he has lost a lot of time. He really has to put the pedal to the metal to try and regain that now.
And you look up front, these guys are also very smart. They know what's going on behind them. There's 2 guys that have peeled off. They can't afford to horse around too much here and lose some lap time.
Yeah, let's see who makes a pit stop now in this top. Who makes a pit stop in this top group first? Because they're going towards the pit line. It is actually almost a dummy there from Gene Fitters, who was faking to go to the pit. Stefanov behind him is actually making space up. Gene Fitters almost made Stefan van Opstal make his pit stop there. But they all continue. They're going side by side. Jean-Francois Penard once again. Marcelo Pagnan and Sonny Kenshin are working together to stay in that lead. Let's see if the Frenchman this time can make it stick around the outside. Gepilievski sticks his nose in towards the French driver. Sonny Kenshin goes wide on the exit there. A bump between him and Marcelo Pagnan. That will give Penard an opportunity. Once again on the outside of the Cuba Grangi. This is a difficult position to make it stick though, because Pagnan and Sonny Kenshin will work together so the Italian stays in the draft. Gepilievski behind him also wins a lot of extra speed because he now gets a double draft. He actually might make it 3 wide here. Both Benoit and Marcelo Pagnan winning a lot of speed compared to Sonny Kenshin. Here in the Variante della Rocha, and it's Benoit braking later. And he makes an overtaking maneuver stick. Jean-Francois Penard back to P2.
This is exactly what those guys needed that are back there. Hampson and Ratche need these guys to mix it up a bit. Let's look at Jordy Fike in a battle with our AM champion leader right now, Kip Stevens.
Yeah, Kip Stevens went very wide there through the gravel of Variante della Rocha and lost a little bit of speed. Jordy Fike couldn't capitalize on them, but these 2 drivers are fighting quite hard with each other now. Now, don't forget they were actually really close with Derek Holland and Erik Koeman as well. So they'll be actually looking at the lap times of those 2 drivers who already made the pit stop, and maybe you're thinking about making the pit stop very soon as well.
There's the pass, trying the attempt made by Fike, racing out there in the Golden State Rottweiler Club car. As he gets that pass made. Move Jordy up to 7th. Okay, now Chepelevsky is I'm hearing that he came in for a stop? No,
they're still...
Okay.
Yeah, they're very close at the moment. Gene Fitters actually got overtaken the last lap by Stefan van Opstal. Now let's see who goes in. It is Sonny Kenshin. It is Marcelo Pagnan. Stefan van Opstal almost rear-ending the Italian there. Gene Fitters actually passes him in the pit stop. I would be very, very surprised if Stefan van Opstal doesn't get a black flag penalty for speeding the pit lane there, because the amount of speed he came in.
had to be coming in too fast. He tried to give it back. I'm not sure if iRacing is going to let him do that one. Did a good job of not getting into the back of Pajan. Look at the bright colored car.
Actually, looking at the replay, he was around 25 kilometers an hour quicker than Marcelo Pagnan going over the pit lane limit. So I wouldn't be very surprised if he doesn't get pit stop. And look at it, by the way. Gene Fitters and Sonny Kenshin are already out, while both Marcelo Pagnan and Stefan van Opstal are still in the pits. I think that both Marcelo and Stefan van Opstal got a black flag penalty for speeding the pit lane.
So, Kenshin is out. In 5th, we think Van Opstal might have got a penalty. In 6th is Fittis. Now look at this. Look at David Hampson. In 7th. Was not Hampson the car that came in with Ratchie? I believe it was, right?
Yeah, he was. He was.
Yeah.
He's actually now not that far from Sonny Kenshin, Gene Fittis. But still, there's a little bit too much maybe to really call it that he's in the draft, but he has the luck though that Jeroen Oersum is in front of him. Jeroen hasn't made a pit stop yet. He actually might hold up Sonny Kenshin a little bit here through the Lesmos.
Jeroen out there in his familiar pink machine, racing with the McDonald's arches on the bonnet. Here comes Kenshin. Oh, he's going to have to wait.
Yeah, and this doesn't help Sonny Kenshin or Gene Fittis here, because they both have to wait, and this gives the opportunity to David Hampson to close the gap a little bit. They make the overtaking maneuver stick right after the exit of the second Lesmo, but because of that they both do not have the draft of Jeroen Oersum that David Hampson actually might have on the run towards Parabolica.
Now remember, this is a battle for position. There's no blue flag being shown to Oersum there. He's legitimately in 4th position. So they get by, and actually Oersum may be a benefit to... Oh, where are you going, David Hampson? Whee!
Well, that was actually great car control from David Hampson, because boy did he get loose there in the Ascari chicane, almost losing it in the middle of the corner and on the exit there. Just a short trip through the gravel seems him pointing in the right direction again. He's in the draft of Jeroen Oersum. That will help him here towards Parabolica to make up a little bit of that lost time with that mistake, and also the exit here will help him to just give a little bit of extra speed in his quest to get closer to Gene Fittis and Sonny Kenshin.
All this going on behind Pignot and Chepolevsky. They are yet to make their stops, and they're just trying to be fast. That's all they want to do right now, is be fast.
And Chepolevsky last time around was extremely fast. He did a 2:15.6. Now just to compare that with Sonny Kenshin's quickest lap time this race is a 2:15.8. So it means that Chepolevsky is actually quicker than anyone else on track at the moment. Also, Jean-Francois Benoit is really quick. He did a 2:16.1 last time around. So it seems that even though these two drivers aren't in for the pit stop yet, as Chepolevsky does extremely wide there on the exit of the second Lesmo. Even though they haven't made a pit stop yet, they are gaining on Sonny Kenshin and Gene Fittis.
About a 39-second bogey time between Chepolevsky and Kenshin. Kip Stevens has made his pit stop. Let's check in. Oh, we're going to stay on this for a minute. I think we might have something interesting happen. Let's watch the leaders. Nope, he's just going to wait.
Yeah, just a little bit of bump drafting there to give Jean-Francois Benoit a little bit of extra speed here to the Parabolica. That's actually quite smart from Chepolevsky, because by staying behind the French driver and bump drafting, he has the extra speed and he also can save a little bit of extra fuel. Let's see if they go into the pits this time around. No, they do not. Both of them can continue. Let's see what the lap times are this time around. Jean-Francois Benoit actually does a 2:16.0, Chepolevsky a 2:16.1. So again, very quick from both of them. And I'm just really curious to see how quick Sonny Kenshin is at the moment. Looking at Sonny Kenshin, he's now on the rundown towards Parabolica. Seems like the gap between him and Gene Fittis is increasing a little bit. Several car lengths between the two Oceanian drivers at the moment. If Gene Fittis cannot close the gap and help him by bump drafting or something like that, like Chepolevsky and Benoit are doing, it really hurts Sonny Kenshin.
I agree, and I think the gap between the front two cars and Kenshin is actually increasing.
Yeah, a 2:16.3. So that actually means that Benoit and Gabrielski won 0.3 of a second last time around, 0.4 of a second on G finish.
I'm going to jump in real quick to the battle for 10th. These are two drivers who can commiserate with each other. Steven Ben Opsel and Marcelo Pajan, they were both racing up in the lead pack. But you called it, Johan, when you said they were both going to get penalties, and sure enough, they both did, and now they can enjoy racing together well off the lead.
Yeah, they're still staying single file there, but on the back of the screen, free ride for a moment. Jordi Fike, Derek Holland and Kip Stevens. These are three drivers that are fighting in the amateur category. Free wide over the start-finish straight here in Monza. I remember an old Formula 1 race where it was 4 wide, I think. And 4 cars finished P1 to P4 in only 1/10 of a second. This was a little bit reminiscent to that. Very close racing between these 3 drivers. And this, of course, is very important as well for the amateur championship. Looking at the standings at the moment, I think that this is actually for P2 in the amateur class today.
Can we go to the leaders real quick? This is fascinating. Chepalevsky has been pushing the French driver the entire straightaway. They know what they're doing. They just want to go. They are racing Sonny Kanchan, who's on the other side of the track, and they know it.
Yeah, they're doing very well so far, and they now decide to make the pit stop. Oh, Chepalevsky extremely late there. Oh, almost bouncing completely on that barrier. He had to brake a little bit extra to get Jean-François Benoit back into the line. Let's see now where Sonny Kanchan is. Sonny Kanchan is on the rundown towards the Parabolica at the moment.
Fittis is close to him, Hampson as well, but they're not helping each other.
Now Sonny Kanchan is helping the other two with them staying in his draft. They're a little bit too far away to help Sonny Kanchan. As they're going through the last corner, Chepalevsky is back rolling again. Benoit is rolling it up, but Benoit has lost the position to Chepalevsky. Still have to wait before they can put it on full power again. There they go. Oh, but Sonny Kanchan is almost there. He's coming out of the pit exit now. Yeah, Sonny Kanchan will get both of them here on the exit. Gene Fittis as well. David Hampson. Oh, he only gets Jean-François Benoit. Chepalevsky gets P3.
So when it all comes out in the wash, it's now a 5-car trade. Oh, careful back there. Hampson gets really loose coming out of Renofilio, but he keeps it going straight. Try as they might to distance themselves from Sonny Kanchan, they could not. It's Kanchan and Fittis. Chepalevsky, Hampson, and the man who was leading for much of the time before he took his pit stop, Jean-François Benoit.
Just really quickly about David Hampson, his pit strategy by pitting early with Tom Lecce really helped him in the end, because he made that early pit stop. He was driving alone with Tom Lecce after it, but now all the pit stops have been, and he's back again in that lead group, closer than he was when he made his pit stop. So good strategy from David Hampson today.
Yeah, what happened to Tom Ratchey? Well, his stop was 17.9 seconds in the box compared to Hampson's, who was 15.7. 2.2 seconds faster. Yeah, the competition is just too close here in the MWT to have that kind of pit stop.
Tom Ratchey is actually being chased down currently by Marcelo Pagnan and Steven van Opsel. There's not a lot of seconds between them. 3 seconds were between them last time around. Now, optically looking, that actually seems to have decreased a little bit. The Italian is making his way towards P6, making his way towards the rear of Tom Lecce's car.
And with the pit stops done, and a small field, this will be fun. You can take your time this time. It's time for Trip's back marker shout out. And I guess we can start with the very last driver, Johan, your countrymate.
Yeah, let's start with P17. That's Robert Wieninga. He started the race in P11, but heartbreak for him. He's only P17 so far, trying to claw his way back towards P16, and that is Joe McDonald. Joe McDonald's a little bit in no man's land at the moment. He's 3 seconds behind the French driver, Renald Lefebvre. Renald, we haven't seen a lot today. He won 2 positions since starting P17, currently driving 15th position. In front of them, another driver who gained 2 positions, Jeroen Uursem. He's currently in 14th position in his beautiful pink McDonald's livery. Erik Koeman, the cowboy, is currently driving in P13 after starting in P10 in that bad pit stop that had been stationary for 14 seconds longer than his rivals. Derek Holland is currently in a fight Jordy Fike it is. Jordy Fike is in front of him in P13. He's in a fight with Derek Holland and Kip Stevens. It's a little bit difficult to call who's in whose position at the moment now, as they're making an overtaking maneuver stick towards P1. Let's just look at it for 1 second. It is Derek Holland to the inside with Kip Stevens on the outside. And it is Derek Holland who makes the move sticks in Variante del Rettivideo. And we go a little bit forward between them. It is at the moment Stefan van Opsel. I actually see Stef Veenhoff disappearing. Let's see actually what happened with him. Maybe we can close to Trips backmarker shout out with Stefan van Opsel here. Yeah, and Stef Veenhoff actually
know what happened to it.
Yeah.
That's too bad. And there you have it. That's Trips backmarker shout out. Not that many backmarkers stay with this small field.
Ooh, if I'm actually looking at Stef Veenhoff, he was right in the battle with several pro drivers. That was with Stefan van Opsel and Marcelo Pagnan, and on the start-finish straight, it was almost like a hardware failure. His car just slowed down. I think he was braking. He hit the inside wall hard and retired his car to the pits and then left the session. So that's the leader in the amateur category retiring from the race.
I saw that too. That's definitely hardware. In fact, I even think he might have been able to hit the brakes. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't get like a blue screen or something there and just tried to get the car out of the way. All right, with all the business out of the way, with 6 laps to go, let's focus back in on front. What's going on up there? Well, it's Sonny Ketchen and Gene Fittis. They qualified 1-2. They raced 1-2. Chepalevsky, the hard charger, up 5 spots. David Hampson took that early peel. The late reveal shows that he came out in about 5th spot. Now working on the back of Hampson. And then Jean-Franck Pignot.
I just love to see these drivers drive here on the start-finish line. It's almost like you're watching oval racing with, instead of a high line and a low line and people trying to stay in the draft of other drivers, it's an inside and an outside line here. That time around you saw the top 3 of the drivers just stay on the inside, while David Hampson and Jean-Franck Pignot tried it on the racing line on the outside, tried to make a move stick, just couldn't make it work. However, here in Curva Grande we just saw an overtake. Chepalevsky got by Gene Fittis. And the Bulgarian driver will now have his sights on Sonny Ketchen in P1.
Yeah, Fittis almost surrendered that spot, or maybe just missed a shift. He was really slow. Chepalevsky gets the pass made. Coming into this race, when I looked at it and I saw that Hartley wasn't here and I saw Ketchen, I go, who's the driver that's going to give Ketchen the most threat? And I honestly thought it was Chepalevsky, but then with that horrible qualifying time, I think you nailed it, Stefan. I think what's happening is, as the race goes on, he's starting to get more comfortable, and he's coming now. Let's go back and look at 9th position. This is our battle between the amateurs, and now with Veenhoff being gone, these are our top amateurs.
Yeah, this is actually for the lead in the amateur category. Kip Stevens tried to move there on Derek Holland, but Derek is defending with everything he's got at the moment. He's keeping the leader in the amateur category behind him for now. Jordy Fike isn't that far away either, and that's actually really important for the championship. We were mentioning it on top of the broadcast, but Jordy Fike has closed down tremendously last time around on Kip Stevens. And if he finishes in front of him, once again he will just close down the gap more and more towards P1 in the amateur championship.
Looking to get that done. Good racing going on back here. 9th, first in the AM class. Holland, Stevens, and Fike. Often they put on the best racing as they race with a little more aggression, a little more desperation in the mix there. Here comes the pass. We trailed them in the drone cam.
Yeah, this time Derek Holland doesn't have an answer to the moves from Kip Stevens from the inside. And he loses that P1 position in the M category. Jordy Fike will try to make it move stick on the exit here of Parabolica. He actually chooses to stay in the draft here of Derek Holland. He gets the double draft now, making it 3 wide going over the start-finish straight. Jordy Fike threading the needle there. Kip Stevens on the outside, Derek Holland on the inside. There's Jordy Fike with the most speed. He actually gets past both of them. Derek Holland cannot defend, and he also cannot get a position back from Kip Stevens.
That camera angle shows you just how underpowered these cars are, as it took them forever to get to us. They continue to fight. Not much going on in front. I'll just report that David Hampson has now moved up into third, but is still pretty tame up in the leaders. Let's stay on these three guys. They're putting on a show.
Yeah, it was a great outbraking maneuver from Kip Stevens. I thought he'd lost the P1 position in this class to Jordi Fike, but just around the outside he made it stick, breaking a little bit later in the Variante de Rettifiglio. And that actually made sure that he stayed in front of him. Now in the De La Roggia chicane, Jordi Fike cannot make a stick around the outside. He actually loses 1 or 2 car lengths. That might give Derek Holland an opportunity behind him. These drivers are really battling hard now and are really focused on track position going towards the last laps of the race.
And I also report that Fittis, we better get back up front here for a minute because we do have a little bit of a story to tell. Fittis beginning to lose touch with the guys in front, and now Hampson falls back a little bit as well. That's going to bring Fittis in.
I mean, it's basically everyone except the top 2 just falling a little. David Hampson now under braking, closes down to Geplievski. I think he's going to be fine, but Gene Fittis and Jean-François Pinot seem to be losing the draft a little bit to the top 3.
Yeah,
for now it is still... Go ahead.
Fittis and Pinot were a long way back when I was starting to get worried, but then they made up the ground.
Let's see what Geplievski actually is trying to do on Sonny Kenshin. Now he is in a draft, and I would say that he would have a little bit more speed. Yeah, looking at the speed of Geplievski, he is feathering his throttle. I almost think that he's maybe fuel saving a little bit at this point of the race. So he can later in the race really give it his all and lead, because he is in a draft, but he's just not gaining any speed. Basically the latter part of this straight, he's just feathering his throttle and staying behind Sonny Kenshin for now.
Well, let's follow up on that a little bit and look at his pit stop time.
That's a crash between Stefan van Opsel and Tom Recci. They went 3 wide with Marcelo Pagnan into the Rettifiglio chicane, and they hit each other, and both Tom Recci and Stefan van Opsel went around. We can go to a replay of that because it actually was quite an interesting move there from these 3 drivers. It was Marcelo Pagnan leading the 3 drivers. Tom Recci in his draft, Stefan van Opsel here around his outside. Now you can see how much speed Tom Recci just gains of being in the draft. He brakes a little bit earlier. Stefan van Opsel actually brakes late, and I don't know what happened there, but Tom Recci and Stefan van Opsel just colliding with each other, making a little pirouette here in the grass. Both can continue.
You know, that's a pretty tough call for Recci. He's got to put the car somewhere. He keeps the car... The pass was being made by Van Opsel on the outside. Recci had that position.
Yeah, but I can also imagine that maybe Van Opsel got it all clear from the spotter at that point, and just steered in, not expecting Tom Recci to brake that late, to be able to brake that late and actually dive on the inside, and then just collided them with each other. But in the end, it is Marcelo Pagnan who can really distance himself from these 2 drivers, and he can now focus on consolidating his P6 position.
That is going to be an interesting call for the IRT on that one. That one, as a former IRT judge, the question will be, did Van Opsel have the pass and did he own the apex, or was it still belonging to the car that was being passed on the inside? We'll find out next week. We'll report back to you on that one. Let's go up front. I want to follow up on this bit about Chepelevsky and maybe lifting. His pit stop time, 14.8. The shortest of anybody by far. So if anybody is having to feather it a little bit, which we think Chepelevsky is, it would be him.
Yeah, that would explain a lot. Well, luckily for Sonny Kenshin, his actually was the longest pit stop of all of them. He was almost 17 seconds standing still. So I don't think that the Australian has to worry about his fuel. Great move here from David Hampson, making it work around the outside of the Rettifiglio chicane. He elevates himself to P2. Geplievski is relegated 1 position. Gene Fittis is smelling blood. He is really haunting Geplievski now to get back in podium position.
With only 2 to go, we're going to focus our attention on the leaders for the rest of the way. Fittis blinks away. We expect him to come back. There he does. Chepelevsky giving a bump to Hampson.
Yeah, maybe just a quick update for the lead in the M category, as after that we'll focus on the Pro category. It's still very close. Kip Stevens and Jordi Fike almost had lost Derek Holland. As they go now through the Rettifiglio chicane, you can see it here. 1, 2 and 3 cars on your screen now. They're still very close as they are trying to figure out who's going to win here in the amateur class of Monza. Now in the front of the field, it is Heusinkveld who's being put under pressure. Gene-Fides is looking to make a move on the outside. There was in Heusinkveld Engineering. Didn't make it stick. Now Variante Scari has to once again go single file. Bill.
We look at it up front. Hampson looking for a way. Now Chepelevsky probably feeling a little more confident that he knows how far he has to go. Maybe he feels he has enough fuel. He starts to make the move on the inside. Is there a place for him to put the car? He gets one. He's alongside. He's on the outside. This will be hard for him to hold this spot. Hampson going to fight back.
Yeah, Sonny Kenshin wants to work together with David Hampson, because every time Sonny Kenshin tries to give David Hampson the draft, this time around there was just enough of a gap for Chepelevsky to really put his car in there. And Chepelevsky gets the lead here.
And David Hampson has ran out of fuel, I believe. He's out of the mix. And then there were four, Johan.
Yeah, then there were four. It is at the moment still Sonny Kenshin who's leading. Chepelevsky going very wide through the exit there of the Ritivilio chicane. That might give Gene-Fides a little opportunity, but Chepelevsky knows that this is the lap that he has to make the move. Only one more lap to go. Still several spots left where he can make a stick. I think that the French driver is falling a little bit down the wayside now. Several car legs between him and Gene-Fides. Sonny Kenshin defending the inside here. Chepelevsky tries to run the outside of the Variante della Roggia. Isn't able to brake as late, but Sonny Kenshin will be hurt with this driving line on the exit. Chepelevsky cannot go quick enough on the throttle. He has to stay behind him through the Lesmo curve, Bill.
Still plenty of paces to make the pass. They can try it down into Ascari. They can try it into Parabolica, and they can try it if they hurry out of Parabolica before the start-finish line, but that's a tall ask. We are on the last lap. Chepelevsky feeling that he has enough fuel now. He's got to get a good run out of Ascari, Johan, to have a shot into Parabolica.
Yeah, let's see if anyone actually tries a move here in Variante Ascari. It is Sonny Kenshin defending a little bit on the inside. Oh, that will hurt him quite a bit. Chepelevsky put his car there. This will open up opportunity to both Chepelevsky and Gene-Fides as they exit the Ascari chicane here. All of them smooth as butter, a little bit over the grass, but none of them got loose. All of them have a good exit. Chepelevsky 100% in the draft. Look at Gene-Fides. Oh, Chepelevsky actually goes over the grass there to give Gene-Fides a little bit of space. It seems
I think he's out of fuel.
Oh,
Chepelevsky's
no.
right out of fuel. And now there were three coming out of Parabolica. It's the Australian Gene-Fides, or Sonny Kenshin. It's the New Zealand driver of Gene-Fides, the Kiwi. He's in the tow, but I think the start-finish line is going to come too soon. Here comes Fides, and he's going to run out of track, maybe. It is Sonny Kenshin, Fides, and Pignot by 8-1. Go ahead.
Yeah, Bill, 900ths of a second between them. That's like probably 50 meters that Gene-Fides comes too short to get a position. Let's go to P7. Tom Recci and Stefan van Opstal side by side. Let's see who wins here. It is Stefan van Opstal on the outside. He has more speed over the start-finish line. It's just Tom Recci with 3,000ths of a second staying in front. Behind him, Kip Stevens and Derek Holland for the victory in the M category. Derek Holland is on the inside. He has more speed and he finishes in front of Kip Stevens. Derek Holland is your amateur victor today.
Fight has to settle for third in class. My goodness. The rest of the drivers come around.
Yeah, let's just focus on maybe Jeroen Oersum and Joe McDonald. That's a battle for P13, but it's still going on. McDonald's versus McDonald's. Let's see who's smiling the most. If it's the red car or the pink car. There's Jeroen Oersum on the outside. Oh, he's having more speed than Joe McDonald there. He's edging ever closer, and it's Jeroen Oersum who gets by him. 100th of a second. Jeroen Oersum coming home in P13.
McDonald has to settle for 14 in the McDonald car. Ha! And that'll wrap it up here as the racing is done. The rest of the drivers will finish their finishing on the lead lap. We'll take a short break. Don't go far. We'll be back to run down the entire finishing order. Talk to some of the drivers before we put a lock on the gate. Johan Vanderbilt, along with yours truly, Bill Soups On, here on the Global Sim Racing channel. You've been watching the Heusinkveld MX-5 World Tour, round number 6 from Monza. The results are in. Let's give them to you. Sonny Kenshin, he gets the win by 9/100ths of a second. Gene Fittis tried everything he could out of Parabolica. He needed another 100 feet, and he might have got the job done. The French driver Jean-Francois Pignot comes home in 3rd. David Hampson in 4th. Stelian Shepelevsky in 5th. Marcelo Pajan, remember, had that speeding penalty in pit lane. He settles for 6th ahead of Tom Ratchie. Stephen Van Opstroll is our final pro driver. And then, Johan, I'm going to give it to you as we get down into the amateurs here for 9th.
Yeah, sounds good. Derek Holland is your amateur winner today. He gained 3 positions during the race. And he comes home in P9 in the end. Overall, Kip Stevens behind him, 2nd in the amateur championship. I think that Kip will actually be quite happy with that position because he finishes in front of P11 Jordi Fike. Now that will be a good result for Kip Stevens, just slightly extending his championship lead in the amateur championship. Erik Koeman cannot finish in front of Kip Stevens. He loses a little bit of track gain there. In 4th place in that class. Jeroen Oersem, P5 overall, P5 in the amateur championship, and P13 overall, gaining 3 positions in the race. Joe McDonald was beaten by him in the final meters of the race. He's classified in P14. Next to him, Robert Wieninga. He had a black flag at his pit stop, and he had to make 1 extra pit stop to serve his penalty, and that causes him to drop down the order a little bit. Come home in P15. Renal Lefebvre is one driver that finished 1 lap down. And then there's our only retiree of today, Stefan Veenhoff, with that probably a hardware failure in the middle of the race. He's classified in P17.
And now we have the opportunity to talk to one of our drivers here. We're going to be able to talk to Gene Fittis, who was our 2nd place driver. Gene, I think you needed, what, maybe another 100 feet, and you might have got the win?
Yeah, she was a close old battle there at the end, as always with Monza.
Fast early, then you fell back a little bit. What was your strategy mid-race?
Strategy was if guys wanted it that bad, they could have it and live to fight another day. Still be there for the end.
You were blinking a little bit, but things settled down a little bit for you. How has your internet connection been down there in New Zealand? I know you've been having a rough time of it of late.
Yeah, it seems to have smoothed out quite a bit from last week, and I didn't have anyone coming over the radio telling me I was missing an action on track for multiple corners at a time. So fair enough. Pretty happy that that's all sort of out of the way with for now, and pretty pumped. 36 races, and that's only my 2nd ever podium. Woo!
There you go. That Kenshin guy, you were so close to the win. It's just, he seems to be magic. He just seems to do enough to get the win.
Yeah, it's a case of how hard do you want to fight for that extra point. I mean, I was pretty overdue for a decent result after the last few rounds, so 2nd place to me is as good as a win, really. Got knocked back a bit on miles per incident this round, but a lot of off tracks, a couple of contacts, so that won't help things. But yeah, all those things to think about in the big picture.
All right, well, now that you got yourself a runner-up, that means the only thing next to do is get yourself a win. Good luck the rest of the way. You're having a good season.
I appreciate it, too. Thanks a lot, man.
Gene Fittis. There you have it. Boy, that's good to see him do so well here today. He deserves it. He's been racing with us for a long time. And with that, I think we have nobody else. You know, I forgot to mention one of our very important sponsors here before we go to that, and let's talk about that, and that is the Sim Sports News. This is the Sim Sports wrap-up show. You know, these guys are really important because what I want you to do is go over and visit them. They're one of the first dedicated sim racing news websites that covers all broadcasts of series in iRacing, ran by Jacob Tufts and Gianni Quintile. The SimSport News race team competes in many official iRacing series as well as the one you've just been watching. For more information, go to simsportsnews.com. And now how about we thank the people at Quality Racing Sim-dicate. I should be able to do that one. We'd like to thank everyone there for organizing the series and contracting with GSRC to broadcast it. Oh, the title sponsors, Heusinkveld. Affordable simulated software and hardware are thought to be of limited use for race teams and drivers, but their simulation solutions bring professional results within reach of any race team or driver without having to compromise on realism or engineering value. They offer a broad array of products and services such as advanced vehicle simulation software and hardware. They are able to simulate any combination of racetrack and car, including a full-fledged cockpit environment with realism that is unparalleled. Heusinkveld solutions are currently being used by professional teams and drivers in Formula Ford, GP3, Formula 2, and Formula 1. Now these products are available for any professional team or driver looking for an edge in racing. Be a better race car driver. Get in touch today. We'd also like to thank SimSports News that we talked about earlier. How about the company's equipment or software you see on the screen right now we use on the broadcast? The original music that lets your ears alert your eyes you're watching a GSRC production comes courtesy of Eric Eckelm and June Lalonde. See the screen to how to contact each of them. Hey, did you enjoy the Heusinkveld MX-5 World Tour? Don't worry, we'll be back in 1 week for round 7, and that's going to be November 17th from Daytona. It's going to be round 6, my apologies, from Daytona International Speedway. GSRC will be there to bring you all the action. We hope you join us. Sliding across your screen right now are just some of the upcoming broadcasts, so check them out and mark them down on your calendar. If you'd like to find out more information about GSRC, including a complete list of future broadcasts, you can find it at GlobalSimRacingChannel.com. We're also on Twitter at GSRC Channel and Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel. Don't forget Instagram, GSRC_Graham. And finally, on behalf of the entire crew, Johan Vanderbilt, Stefan Schlocker, who is not here, but he got his name mentioned anyway, our director, Sean Ambrose, and of course, Dougie Beard, our camera artist. I'd like to thank you all for watching. With that said, we're off to have fun storming the castle. I'm almost done. So next time, race clean, race hard, and see you on the